Every Friday from 3:05 to 4 on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM. It's the Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto. Talking local sports every Friday. Getting you ready for the weekend and what lies ahead. High school sports, UConn, ECSU, and more. The Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto is brought to you by your local Dunkin' stores. Route 32 South Windham, 1015 Main Street, Willimantic, 1575 West Main Street, and 407 Jackson Street. The Friday Sports Scene. Now, here's Keith C. Rice and Jan Koivisto.
The great Eddie Bishop. Big props to my good friend, a longtime friend, Ed Bishop, for that amazing intro. For the first ever Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM and on the WILI Radio YouTube channel as we continue to increase our talk programming here in the afternoon on WILI. We have several great talk shows Monday through Friday across the board, but we're missing a local sports show until now. So here we go. We present to you every Friday from 3:05 to 4, the Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto. High school sports, UConn, ECSU, and if it calls for it, we briefly will touch on national. We got to touch on the national scene every now and then. Maybe we'll work on that towards the end of the show, but we can't stress it enough. It'll be local as best we can. And we will finish today's show off with the World Series. Can't overlook the World Series Game 1 tonight. And actually, if you want to get technical, in an effort to remain loyal and local, we do have a local connection to the World Series, and his name is George Springer. So we'll touch on that. Big thanks to our trusty man behind the board, J. Matt Rupar. His great Connecticut artist-based music show will follow the Friday Sports Scene every week. Matt's had that. How long have you been running that show now, Matt? About a year and a half. It's called Homegrown. So make sure you stay tuned after the Friday Sports Scene for Homegrown with the one and only J. Matt Rupar. Not only does the show run live every Friday here on WILI, but you'll be able to view it, as I mentioned, on our YouTube channel. It's WILI Radio. Please subscribe and watch all our great talk shows on the WILI Radio YouTube channel. Huge thanks to Jerry Jose. Is a big part of this, making the show happen. Another longtime friend of mine. He runs a lot of the Dunkin' stores in the area. This show comes your way, courtesy of our local Dunkin' stores, Route 32 South Windham, 1015 Main Street, Willimantic, 1575 West Main Street, 407 Jackson Street. And they got so much going on. I got to pull up the fall menu for a second. I got to mention how about the mixed berry daydream refresher? Little hibiscus berry blend with vitamin C, iced pumpkin loaf cake served and chilled. I think I know where I'm going for dinner tonight. Chipotle loaded hash browns. Let's see, sweet highlights, a candy bar signature latte. Anybody hungry? Thirsty for some Dunkin'? And then Halloween, right around a week from today is Halloween. How about the spider specialty donut? Purple icing with a chocolate spider web. Halloween munchkins. A bucket, 50 donut holes in a reusable bucket. So big thanks to our friends at our local Dunkin' stores as the Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto runs on Dunkin'. And now let's bring in, my name is Keith C. Rice. Let's bring in my good friend here and our co-host. I'm so glad to have him here, the ad director of the Chronicle, Jan Koivisto. Welcome, Jan.
Awesome to be here. That was quite an intro. Happy Dunkin's doing that. I actually was at a girls' volleyball game the other day, and I won some Dunkin' gift cards.
Did you?
So I'll be using them, I think, on some of those items you mentioned.
Yeah.
Not that I need it, but maybe I'll treat the family.
Gotta love Dunkin'. You know, you're in New England, you see a Dunkin' almost at every corner.
Corner, yeah.
So tell us a little about Jan Koivisto. What makes Jan run? You're a big sports guy. It's why you're one of the first people I thought of when we put this show together.
So ad director is the Chronicle, like you mentioned, and I love my job. But my passion really has been my whole life since I was a kid reading Bock squaws at 5 years old, probably before I could read. Has always been sports. My involvement really started. I was still in college. I was up at Eastern, and a buddy of mine, Kevin Jaskowitz, who is now the Coast Guard men's head coach, was coaching at Ellis Tech, and the head coach I think left. Kind of at the last minute, so he took the head job and he said, Jan, drive with me every day. We'll go to Ellis Tech and you'll coach. And the season had started. It was like going to start the next day. So that was my first basketball coaching gig. I coached there for 6 years, coached at Woodstock Academy for a few years. Then had a family, life happens, and then I started getting involved in girls basketball because I had a daughter that wanted to do nothing but play basketball. So I've coached AAU basketball for now about 16 years, and it's kind of become part of my life and part of my daughter's life, who coaches at New Haven now.
Yeah, we're going to have to eventually we'll have to get her on. She's an assistant at the University of New Haven, correct?
Yeah, great gig. 24 years old. She spent 2 years in North Carolina at the North Carolina Greensboro. They made the NCAA tournament last year, lost to Juju in the first round.
Yeah.
But still a great season. She learned a ton there, and then she came back home to New Haven this year and is the head assistant coach in their first year in Division I. They'll take their lumps, but it's still going to be fun.
So before we started the show, we had a couple people walk in, go, and they asked, questioning you on your accent. It does sound very Boston, but it's the northeast corner, huh?
I grew up in Moosup, Connecticut, the home of Walt Dropo. Do you know the name Walt Dropo?
I do. UConn.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Oh, Wayno's talked about him a lot. Yeah.
Three-sport athlete at UConn. So I grew up in Moosup, Connecticut, and I was saying, I went to Plainfield High School, and even there, people said, "How come you got an accent?" So I don't know. It's just how we talk in the Koivisto household.
Love it. Now, you're no stranger to the WILI studios. Well, actually, I always forget. I came to you when we did Hometown Threads. We went to the Chronicle.
Yep.
But you have been in here for Wayno's show. And, of course, you may hear Jan's name every week with Keith and Friends Quick Picks, which runs on WILI and on our sister station, 998.3. And at the end of the show, we'll run over our quick, well, at least you and I know Steve also was part of that, Steve Smith at Fenton River Grill, but we'll go over our quick picks, and of course we'll do a World Series prediction with that whole George Springer tie-in. Just a few minutes away from being joined by Wyndham High football coach Randall Prose. Very nice to call us on game day. They got a game tonight against Ledyard at 6:30. So we were going to thank the coach for a few minutes. He'll give us a little preview of what to expect. Wyndham off to a not so great start, 1-4, very young team though. So we'll talk to Coach Prose in a few minutes. Before he calls, there were some games last night in the area. Coventry, Wyndham Tech, Bolton. Oh, hold on here. I got to find it. I'm sorry. Middletown beat E.O. Smith 38-6. And Bacon Lyman fell to Montville 14-12. It's kind of like Wayno and I were kind of discussing this earlier. Wayno's on his way to Houston, by the way, for the UConn football game at Rice. We'll get into that a little bit later. You can hear the game here on WILI at 1:30 tomorrow. UConn's been off to a great start, but local high school football is kind of like an off year. There's not really one team that usually have that one team that's playing pretty well.
So because of where I'm from, I'm friends with Chad Neal, the
Killingly
coach.
Yeah.
And it is that's a factory. That's a factory. And Wyndham through the years has been a factory. But I think it's changed so much. I'm sure Coach Prose will touch on it, but I looked at his roster this year. He's got 33 kids.
Yeah.
I imagine 20 years ago that was double.
Oh, we could ask him this right now. Let's bring him in, Coach Prose.
Hey, Keith, how are you?
Good. Keith C. Rice here with Jan Koivisto from the Chronicle. Thanks for a few minutes, Coach. We know it's game day. You got a lot on your mind. We can't thank you enough for a few minutes to talk a little Wyndham High football. So, actually, we'll start with Jan. You want to bring up what you're just...
So, we were just talking about the co-ops and how football has changed in this area. The roster that the CIAC has for you has 33 kids on it, and I'm just curious what that compares to numbers of past years.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but Wyndham High has always been kind of low in numbers. We've never had a lot of kids. I think that's about the same number we took into the semifinals last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Coach, going into tonight's game, you guys are 1-4. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys have dropped 4 straight now, right?
Yeah, we won the opener.
What happened? What has happened to get us up to speed on after that first game? I know you said going into the season it's a young team. Just can we chalk it up to a little inexperience or what?
Yeah, you could chalk it up to a lot of inexperience. We're young. We're very young, actually. We only have a few seniors that are playing. I think there's 2 out on the field that are seeing time. We got a lot of freshmen and sophomores that are out there playing varsity football. We lost a lot of seniors last year, and it's one of those years. We lost a couple games, mental errors, fumbles, a lot of things that young teams do. The Bacon game definitely got away from us with a couple mental errors, and last week, same thing.
So, Coach, you mentioned last year's success. You lost in the semis, and I think you've made 4 state tournaments in your 9 years.
Yeah.
So, how are you managing the kids? What are you doing to keep them up when it's a little bit rougher season?
Well, this is, I think, year 9 or 10 for me, and we've had a couple lean years where we've had to rebuild, and you just try to stay positive. There's no sense yelling at young kids to do things that they either can't do physically yet or haven't learned to do. So you keep it positive. You try to keep a growth mindset, try to work on improvements. And, that's all you can do. You got to, it's no fun to lose. Kids don't like it. Coaches don't like it. Community doesn't like it. But you do the best you can. And you just keep working week to week.
How you've the times we've spoken, got together, and you've talked with them football. Of course, you came. You were under Crudden there for a while. How's the defense been this year in your mind?
Well, I think the defense is, that's always been the strength of Wyndham football, and even the young kids, they'll come and hit you. We've gotten burned on some long passes and screen passes, and that's inexperience. But the defense is still coming after them. We're very young in the defensive backfield. Thank God for Francisco Alvarado back there. He's had to move to safety and kind of play center field and be all over the field. However, we're still hitting people, and we play the run really well, but we've gotten burned a lot in the past few years.
So, Coach, you got a 3-game win streak, I think, against Ledyard, including that semifinal game last year. What are we looking at tonight?
Well, Ledyard's, they're good. They're good again. They're a great program. You're right. They've been rivals with us. It's been either us or them for the ECC title. And, we had to beat them twice last year to get to the semis. So, they're going to come at you. They're going to try to run the ball 95% of the time. And, it's another very strong senior-laden Ledyard team. So we're going to go out there and do our best.
So Alvarado he plays on both sides of the ball, right? Is that what you just said before?
Yeah, that's another strong Wyndham tradition. Our kids play both ways. There's never been a lot of depth. The teams last year, the same kids on offense, same kids on defense. And Francisco's our quarterback. He started for us since his freshman year. He's only a junior, so we got another year of him. And he plays quarterback. Heck, we put him out at wide receiver and threw him the ball, and he ran it for a long touchdown last week. He does a little bit of everything. He plays safety on defense. I think he's second on the team in defense in tackles. It's never good when Troy Torres is leading the team in tackles at linebacker, but it's never good when your safety's the second leading tackler on the team.
So do you have any? You got, I think, 6 seniors on this year's squad. Anything you want to say about them for how they've stepped up with leadership? Especially, I've always found that, you said losing stinks, but to me, the character of the kids can kind of come out more when things aren't easy, when there's a little more adversity.
Yeah, that's something that, I'm sure no one likes to hear, but you do learn more about yourself in tough lean years. It's easy to be on top. It's easy to win. It's easy to show up every day when you're kicking everybody's butt week in, week out. But the seniors that we do have that are playing, Nico Torres, he's out there. He's a senior that's, played a little bit everywhere for us. And Alex Mosquita is another senior that's starting and playing for us. Actually, those are the only 2 seniors that we got that are seeing playing time.
Not to look ahead, but because you're focused on Ledyard tonight, but you got home games with New London and Waterford down the road. How would they? Again, you're focusing on Ledyard tonight. I get it, but how do they match up as far as like a team you're facing tonight? New London and Waterford down the road, NFA. I mean,
well, yeah, our season actually has gotten it gets tougher. We were hoping to get a few more wins out of the early part of the season. We're hoping to. Like last week at the Bacon game. But, we got Ledyard, New London, Waterford, and then NFA. So, we got quite a gauntlet ahead of us. Tough teams, some larger schools there. Waterford beat Ledyard in a thriller. So they're good again, too. So it's good. We got a tough road ahead of us.
No breathers in the ECC, that's for sure. So I'm pretty good friends with Chad Neal, and he often will talk about the program as a whole. Like they lift weights in the barn. He's got a great youth program, assistant coaches. Any shout out you want to give to anybody that helps your program?
Yeah, I've got a great staff. These guys have been with me pretty much the whole time I've been here. Coach Mike Haggerty's been calling the defense with me for the last 8-9 years.
Hags.
And, he was a youth coach here in town for years, too, and he coached under Brian. And then Robert Manquel, he runs the defense for me. He's a great coach. He coaches the girls basketball team, and he's big into the youth football down here in town. We got a great youth program. Mark Labby's been with me for years. Cisco Cruz has been with me for years, and then John Wells is another staff that's in the building. He's been with me the last few years. He's a teacher. He's a great guy. He's done a really good job.
Oh, yeah.
My assistant coaches are phenomenal, and they've been great with the kids. They just keep working and teaching, and every week, you watch film, you learn from your mistakes, and you move forward.
Coach Prose, the Wyndham High football team, joining us on game day. Very grateful for a few minutes here. Are you good for a few more minutes, Coach?
Sure.
All right, thank you so much for it's the first ever guest here on the Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto on WILI.
And he's killing it.
I know, killing it. Right. I was telling Jan, Coach, before we started the show, you couldn't ask for a better debut day. You got Wyndham High football. We're going on the air with this show a few hours before the kickoff at 6:30. Again, if you want to get up there and cheer on the Whips against Ledger. And you got World Series Game 1 tonight. You're sitting on the brink of an NFL weekend, so we're very happy to be doing a sports show here on every Friday on WILI. Get you ready for the weekend in sports. But I wanted to ask you, talk a little. How do you say your running back's name? Is it Kevon?
Kevon Roberts.
Yeah, talk a little about your leading rusher.
Kevon's another young man. He started with us He started as a freshman, an outside linebacker. He was all conference last year, just like Francisco and Troy Torres. Those are the three juniors that actually were part of that. The team last year, the 9-1 team that went to the semis. Devon's a great kid. He finds holes where there aren't holes, and he keeps running downhill. If you give him a crack, he's gone. I think he had a 95-yard touchdown guard trap against Bacon. But he's a great kid. He plays both sides of the ball. He's been real positive. He's one of our captains, him and Troy and Francisco. And, he's out there just fighting.
Is he on both sides of the ball for you, too, or...
Yeah, he plays linebacker and, halfback and fullback.
Oh, okay. Now, back to that for a second. I don't mean to backtrack, but you mentioned that's mainly been a Wyndham thing. Do you see other teams do that as well? I mean, with the rosters playing kids on both sides, offense and defense?
No, not as much as we have to.
Yeah.
There are teams that kids play both ways, but they have a lot more kids to rotate in. The numbers are always a challenge. We would like to get more kids off of football. And I think your partner there mentioned co-ops. A lot of schools our size co-op. Plainfield now is co-oping with Wyndham Tech and another school. Griswold co-ops with Wheeler. It's not out of the equation. It's something that we're always considering. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. But
that was my next question.
That was my next question.
Okay, so Jan and I are both wondering, look, we just love seeing Wyndham. I'm being old school like that, but I know, hey, times have changed. So there is a possibility down the road that Wyndham could partner up, huh?
There's always, it's never been an option for us. You have to have a certain level of not success, unfortunately, and your numbers have to be low enough to make the co-op application. And I think we're right on the cusp next year. I think you'd have to bring 25 or fewer kids back. And I think we're at like 25, 26 kids, and it's a long season. We're only halfway down the line.
So I'm a Plainfield guy, and there was a little bit of pushback when they did that, but now I think they're 4-2 or 3-3, and people are pretty happy that they made that decision.
Yeah, I played him for years. We were rivals for a long time, and then kind of funny. After COVID, he didn't want to play us for a while.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, I don't want to play Wyndham. He refused to play us. So like,
well, he was
Coach, you're in, you're out.
Yeah, he had some tough seasons. I've known Pat Smith. I've known Pat Smith forever. So
yeah, come on, Pat, don't back down.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll come back now.
Well, yeah, now he'll probably play. Now he's got 90 kids on his team. He was crying last year while we were playing him the whole time. And, I look over there. I thought he had like 45, 50 kids on the sideline. I'm not sure how he qualified for the co-op. He must have a lot of seniors.
Yeah, there was some initial pushback, and I think that is part of it, is Plainfield. Well, I graduated from Plainfield in the 80s, and we had a freshman team. So we used to have 100 kids of our own.
Yeah, when I first... Brian was a great coach, and he'll be the first to admit to you that he never had a ton of kids. His numbers, though, were 10 or 15 more than what we've been getting the last few years. And that makes a big difference.
Huge difference.
When you can play 2 or 3 levels of football, and you can develop the freshmen, and you can develop one thing that I don't like, I don't like putting a kid out on a varsity field before they're ready. And that's the only thing that's kind of like, made me give it a pause, is that, sometimes I'm putting freshmen out there to play a varsity game out of necessity, and I don't really like that feeling. Like, if I don't feel like they're ready for varsity football, I wish I didn't have to play them. Yeah, and I think that's kind of a situation we're in this year. We are putting some kids on the field that in the past would not necessarily be out there.
Yeah, football is very unique in that way, because if you're talking basketball and you got a freshman that's a little overmatched, well, they're a little overmatched. But football, I definitely understand that point.
And you're talking, if you look at a 14, I've been teaching 30 years and coaching for years, and you look at a 14-year-old boy compared to a 17, 18-year-old boy, it's a whole different child.
Oh, yeah.
I was, just thinking back of the young men that graduated last year, like McKenzie, was a beast his senior year, and he's a 140-pound freshman. He didn't see the field till his junior year. So you want to let him grow. You want to get him in the weight room. You want to get him bigger before they have to see that burn. But sometimes when the numbers are low, you got to do that, and that kind of gives me pause to thinking about the possibility of a co-op. But it's it's something else you said, that I love having only Wyndham kids on our team.
I got to be
honest with you. It's a pride thing.
Yeah, it is.
And when I won Coach of the Year a few years ago, that was like the mantra of my speech. I wanted to make sure Killingly heard it and others heard it. Because we beat Killingly that year. And, you're playing Killingly, you're playing an all-star team. That Boag.
That's Jan's neck of the woods.
Well, Killingly gets a little defensive about that, because they talk about how their last state championship team, 22 of 24, were of the starters were Killingly kids. So I'll defend them a little bit there. And they have a legit Boag program. That's why they get a few kids.
They do have a legit Boag program, and they do get a lot of kids. And they got one thing you can't take away from Chad is he's a great coach, and he runs a great weightlifting program, and they play great football.
Yeah,
that. I would like to emulate. I'd like to get the kids more in the weight room and dedicate themselves year round.
I mean, you've had 9-1 seasons, so you've been a heck of a program. It's just right now it's a little down this year.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, one last thing, because we know we got to let you go. Jan probably even knows this answer. Who makes the final call if you're going to go co-op or not? Is that the administration, or is it up to you?
I think it's a mutual decision. I think it would be probably one that I would make with the athletic director and administration. I'm gonna do my best to keep only Wyndham kids on the field. It's just something that
it's pride. Yeah.
It's a pride thing, and I love taking only Wyndham kids into battle. But times change. A lot of parents won't let their kids play football anymore.
That's
true.
It's just one of those things that times are changing, and we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll go get them tonight against Ledyard. It's a 6:30 kickoff. Get up there and support the Whips. And, Coach, I'm sure we're going to have you on again, but it's in the history books. You are our first ever guest on the Friday Sports Team with Keith and Koivisto on WILI. Good luck tonight.
Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, guys, and continue to do what you do. It's great. I think it's awesome. You got a sports show on Friday night. That's great.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Take care. All right, Coach Prose of the Wyndham High Whips, our first ever guest on the Friday Sports Scene. And for that, we'll get Coach some free Dunkin' coffee. Actually, we should hook him up.
I could have went on another 20 minutes.
I know. Well, I'm sure we'll have him on again soon because we're in the thick of it here at football season. 1-4, whatever. We got to talk. Everyone wants to talk winning football around here. Yeah. So, big thanks to Coach Prose. All right, we're going to step away for a quick break. Again, this is the First Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto on WILI, brought to you by our local Dunkin' stores. On the other side, we hope to hear from the Cuz. Kind of like a little return of Keith and the Cuz, little UConn Husky men's and women's basketball talk. He may be calling us from Ames, Iowa. It's 50-50 right now, but we'll see what happens on the other side. We do know one thing. We're coming back talking more sports with you until 4 o'clock here on WILI. All right, we're back with the the new Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, brought to you by our local Dunkin' stores. We do have the Cuz on hold. We're going to be reunited in just a sec here. But first, got to mention a big note here. ECSU Rugby and our good friend Ray Aramini has a very meaningful game against Curry College tomorrow at 1 at the Mansfield Sports Complex. This game will determine postseason standing and venue, so get up there and cheer on the Warrior Rugby team. And, of course, 1:30 tomorrow, Wayno's on his way to Houston right now for UConn football. Talk about a team that's on fire. Huskies lost their first 2, now they've won 5 in a row. UConn will be playing at Rice. Love the name of the school, but go Huskies. UConn at Rice, 3 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. We got it for you at 1:30 on WILI. Huskies are 5-2, 3-0 at home, 2-2 on the road. Big road test for UConn as they take on Rice. And speaking of UConn, let's bring him in. Reunited. Keith and the Cuz on the first ever Friday Sports Scene on WILI. Andy Bock, let me introduce you to my co-host, Jan Koivisto from the Chronicle. Son, we call each other son. You're calling from Ames, Iowa, huh? Lovely Ames, Iowa?
Yeah, we're in Ames. Hey, it's good to be back on the radio with you guys. It must be college basketball season, and congrats on this new show, guys. I'm sure it's been real exciting.
Thank you. Great to hear from you.
All right.
So you're out in Ames, Iowa for what? Iowa State BYU football this weekend?
Yes. Sneaking this in between some coaches' meetings. We just got back from our meetings with Iowa State, but we got Iowa State BYU on Big Fox tomorrow at 3:30. So yeah, lots of football here, but I'm more focused on basketball. I spent Tuesday down at MSG this week for Big East Basketball Media Days, men and women. It was a great day, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my insights with your listeners.
Yeah, let's get into it. First of all, how long do we have you for?
Whatever you need, 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, great. Let's go. We'll go about 10. Yeah, we go about 10, 15 minutes here. I'll see what we got. Let's start. Where do you want to start, Andy? You're down at MSG, as you said. Let's start with the men. Dan Hurley really reloaded with the portal. Get us up to speed on the UConn men heading into the season.
Yeah, right. Great start. Let's start with the men here. And real quick, also, so the shows that I did on Tuesday, 2 separate media day shows, about 3 hours with the men, about 3 hours with the women. And what we did is we basically had a depth with some announcers, and we brought in all 11 coaches, men and women. We sat down for about 10 minutes, and we just did a deep dive on all 22 teams in the Big East. So really educational. If you're a Big East basketball fan, I highly recommend, if you have Peacock, and you're going to need Peacock this year, guys, to watch some of the UConn games. Unfortunately, the games are spread out over different partners this year. So get Peacock, and when you get on there, archive this Big East Media Days. And you can shoot ahead to the teams and the coaches you want to hear from. But we had Gino and we had Danny, and it's a great listen. Really good to hear from these coaches as you get set for the season. So on the men's side, I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but some bummer news from the men's side where the freshman, Braylon Mullins, twisted his ankle in practice. I think the good news this year, guys, is he's not going to miss the season. It's not an ACL. It's not nothing serious. But he did twist his ankle. It looks like he won't be back till early December. But I'm telling you guys, we asked Danny about this kid Mullins on the show, and his eyes just lit up. And I want to tell you a couple of names that came out of his mouth when we asked him about this exciting freshman. The first guy he brought up was Jordan Hawkins, a name we all remember.
Yep.
First-round NBA pick, okay? This kid's a real silky smooth shooter. He couldn't stop talking about how good of a shooter this kid, Braylon Mullins, is. The other name he brought up, you're going to have to blast back to the past a little bit here, but you guys remember Bobby Sura down at Florida State?
Sure. Oh, yeah, Florida State.
Super talented, athletic, silky smooth shooter. So those are the 2 names he brought up when we asked him about Braylon Mullins. So unfortunately, we won't be able to see this kid in the first handful of games, but look in early December, mid-December, when this kid comes back. He's the kind of guy you would pay to watch. He's that good. He's a 5-star kid, McDonald's All-American. He was actually Mr. Basketball in Indiana. So that tells you how good this kid is. Danny is super excited to have him. So there's one thing on the men's side. We all know that Alex Caravan's back for another run. It's amazing to have a player of his caliber, coming back to Stores. But him and Danny are almost like a father-son relationship right now. They know each other, they love each other, and he couldn't be happier to have Alex back. Salo Ball and Terrace Reed also, kind of formed the big three for the UConn men. So between the freshmen and the three coming back, I'll give you one more name, guys. Danny did dip into the transfer portal, and the number one guy he got, and I actually covered this guy last year at Georgia. His name is Silas Demery. He's a stud point guard. He was down at Georgia for a couple of years. And again, when we asked him to tell us about Silas and his game, you know what name Danny brought up? Tristan Newton.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what Tristan Newton meant to this team in those national championship runs. So when you look at the starting five for Danny this year, it's every bit as exciting, in my opinion, as his national championship teams. Obviously, you need to get on the court, get some chemistry going, get some games under your belt, but this team's going to be every bit as exciting as those national championship teams.
So I want to ask you mentioned Caravan. I wanted to ask you about him a little bit because I actually thought he took a step back a little bit last year after he pulled out of the draft. Is he going to be back more to that 2 year ago form that we got used to?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think every UConn fan's wondering about that. I think everybody expected before last season started for Alex to kind of run through the season, be as good as he ever was, and then be a lottery pick. That was the expectation. That didn't happen, as you just mentioned. And I think that's part of the reason that he came back. I mean, he had another year of eligibility, but the plan really never was to come back. He wasn't as good as he wanted to be. He would say that. Danny would say that. So I think he rededicated himself in the offseason to being his best self this year. I think we're going to see the old Alex, to answer your question. I think he's going to be the best player on this team. He's going to be the reason why UConn makes a deep run in March. And I think he's going to get himself back into the mix of being a first-round draft pick.
The Cars, Andy Bock, joining us, talking a little UConn men's, and we will touch on a little women's as we get ready for UConn men's, another season of UConn men's and women's hoops here on WILI, and the brand new Friday sports team with Keith and Koivisto. So back to Mullins for a second. I apologize if you already said this. Was Mullins already plugged in as a starter? And if that was the case, who steps in and takes his place there while he recovers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can take his place for what he can do, and I don't think anybody coming in as a freshman, like you're guaranteed you're going to start.
Right.
But as a five-star Mr. Indiana basketball, top 25 kid coming in, Danny loves this kid, and he's also the exact type of kid that Danny likes and Danny wants for his program. We've known from listening to Danny over the years, he doesn't just go bring in anybody just because you have talent. You have to fit the type of person and player and have the character that Danny's looking for. We all know Danny can grind these guys. The practices are intense, and you got to want to work hard, and you got to be a good fit in this system. So really, to answer your question, Keith, is it's unfortunate that he's not going to be ready from the get-go. He's probably going to have to get himself up to speed when he gets back because he's not going to be able to practice for a month. So I don't know if he's going to start right away. But he will get minutes, and I would say by the time we get into the meat of the Big East season, he is going to be a starting guard, and he will never relinquish that spot as long as he is healthy. And he is going to be electric when he's at full speed. Everybody's going to enjoy watching him.
Give me your starting five right now for the UConn men.
Oh, man, you got the roster in front of you there?
Come on, son. Come on.
Well, I gave you the big three. And then, Silas is going to be your point guard.
Yeah,
so there's
definitely,
four. Yeah. I think the fifth, Danny will work out as we get closer to the season and they finish practice. Those are your big four right there. I'm pretty sure that Braylon was going to start based on how good Danny believes he is. So I think it remains to be seen who that fifth guy will be. But there's your four right there, and that's going to be a pretty good four banger right there to get started out of the gate against New Haven in game number one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm biased because I was friendly with him. He went to high school with my daughter, but I think they're going to lose something with Hassan Diarra off the team. Who's going to step up with his leadership skills that he showed last year and his on-ball defensive skills?
Yeah, I mean, I think Salo Ball is going to kind of be that guy this year. I mean, he's an elite shooter. I think he's grown into a leader. I think he's going to be the guy that kind of takes his spot. I think the plan was for Braylon to kind of be the point guard. Salo might have to handle the ball a little bit more, but I agree with you. They're going to lose a lot with him. He was a key part of these UConn teams in the last year or so. So they are definitely going to miss him, but I think they're going to be just fine moving on without him.
Two guys I was very impressed with last year, Ball and Reed. I'd like you to speak a little about them, and I'm sure we'll see more out of them this year. They really impressed me. And one guy who was a bit of a letdown was Jalen Stewart.
Yeah,
Donnie Marshall's nephew, right? Yeah.
Yep. Donnie Marshall basically recruited into UConn. Came all the way from state of Washington. I don't know. I'm not sure he got enough minutes to grow in confidence, and as a lot of freshmen do in the Big East. I mean, it's a tough conference. It's hard to come in there and just be impactful. So I think it's going to take him a little time to grow in confidence, but I do think his minutes will increase this year, and I think. If he's not a starter, I think he'll be a sixth or seventh guy and could see something in the range of, 12 to 15 minutes a game. And let's hope he grows into the player that he was in high school, which was really a long, elite athlete, great defender, and a really good long-distance shooter.
All right, son, believe it or not, an hour really flies by quick, especially when we have like 10, 15 minutes with you. But we like to touch a little on the UConn women. You want to say anything else about the men before we switch over to the women, or...
No, I think that's a pretty good start on the men. Just the one thing I would say, Big East in general, everybody, there's two new coaches, Kevin Willard in at Villanova, and we have another Pitino in the Big East. So that adds another layer of spice just to the greatest conference in the country in Big East. Willard at Villanova, Richard Pitino at Xavier. So
that's right. That's right. Oh, and one more quick thing. I apologize. I was just telling Jan before we brought you in here. In my opinion, and you're up on the Big East more than we are at this point. What do you think, UConn, St. John's, and everyone else this year as far as the men go?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. If you're just going by the rosters and the type of players they have and the pedigree of Danny and Rick and what they've done over the years, it's those two. And when those two play, that's going to be the game that's on Big Fox on Saturday night. That is the premium game in the Big East.
Gus Johnson and
Gus Johnson.
Hey, you mentioned Peacock. Right. We're going to get a little Noah Eagle with Peacock this year, right?
We are. Again, you got to get Peacock. You're going to have to get Turner. You're going to have a cable that has Turner. There's going to be a lot of games there. NBC will have some games, Peacock, and then, of course, Fox and FS1 will still have their fair share of games on the men's side. So the games are going to be spread out. So make sure you have all your subscriptions paid up. But it is going to be a fun year. Don't forget about Greg McDermott and Creighton. I know he lost a lot, and he lost probably the two best players he's ever had in Kalkbrenner and Ashworth, but he knows how to coach. He knows how to recruit. He brought in some transfers. Creighton will make the tournament. Those three teams, I think, are locks for March. Outside of that, a fourth and a fifth team. We'll just have to see how this season unfolds. Those are the three premium teams, and then the Marquettes and maybe the Georgetowns. Maybe they find a way to sneak in, but it's going to be a fun season.
All right, let's switch over to the women. Jan, you want to lead things off here, or do you have a question right off the bat?
I'm curious at what keeps Gino going after 41 years. More titles?
It's a great question. I think a lot of us thought that last year with Paige, he wins a title, he's going to ride off into the sunset and call it a career. Not even close. We asked him that when he jumped up on the set with us at MSG, and basically asked the same question. What drives you, Coach? What keeps you going? And he says it's the kids. He just loves having an impact in their life. I don't think he knows anything else. This will be his 41st season in stores, guys.
Jeez.
41 years. It's almost as long as we've been alive. I mean, it's crazy.
And he's had health issues too.
Yeah. But I think this gives him purpose, and I think he loves it. I don't see him quitting anytime soon. He signed a new deal. So, anyways, back for his 41st season. And if I can just touch on the women here, guys, I know everybody's saying, "Oh, Paige is gone. What's the team?" But dude, this team is stacked.
Sarah Strong. I mean, you can go right down the line. AZ Fudd, what she did last year, and the oh my God.
Yeah, you just mentioned the two pillars of the team this year. AZ Fudd will do the majority of the ball handling. She'll be the point guard. She'll be the main focal point in the backcourt. Sarah Strong is probably your Big East Player of the Year. She's that good. When we asked Gino about her, he kind of said last year she just did what we needed her to do. Paige was very ball dominant, and Sarah just did everything that we needed her to do. He said this year she's going to be more of a focal point of the offense and do a lot more than that. So look for Sarah Strong to probably be the Big East Player of the Year on the women's side. But I'm going to give you a name to look out for, guys. You know Gino's always bringing in superstar, five-star freshmen. Khalees Fisher. Khalees Fisher. Her nickname is Big Fish. She comes out of the D.C. area. I'm telling you, she's got an awesome personality.
Big fish for 3. Yes.
That's it. Get used to Big Fish, guys. I'm telling you, this girl can play. She's a top 25 recruit. She went to high school down at IMG Academy down in Florida, and she won a national championship on the high school level. So this girl is used to winning. She is going to bring just a fire and a pizzazz from the freshman side into stores, and I'm telling you. Again, just like Braylon Mullen, she is the type of player that you're going to end up buying a ticket to watch her play. She's a super exciting player, and I think I'm not saying she's going to replace Paige and beat Paige, but she's just that type of player that people are going to love watching play, and she's going to help UConn win a lot of games this year. But we all know Gino with freshmen. He can be really hard on them. He's good at – think about all the good freshmen that Gino's had over the years. So he will ride her hard, and that she'll have her moments. But Khalees Fisher is going to be a name to look out for on the women's side.
Not really a question, more of a comment, I think, for me. But I actually think part of Gino's why he keeps doing it and why he's able to keep doing it is Chris Staley's got to be the best assistant coach, maybe of all time.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, they are a marriage when it comes to head coach and assistant coach. She is the team mom. She helps close recruiting deals. She does the home visit. Mm-hmm. When Gino's ripping these girls, she kind of pulls them inside and plays the, hey, you know, you're still good. We still believe in you. And they you're right, man. They are the absolute perfect duo. And it's the reason why Chris has never left and taken a head coaching job somewhere. I'm sure she's had many offers. But just the thing that they have going in stores and, you know, a 13th banner, I think is very possible after raising number 12 last year. I mean, that's incomprehensible. Guys, there's 18 banners hanging in Gamble Fieldhouse this year. I mean, they're going to run out of room here, right?
If you would have told me in 1989, going into the 90 season, that in 2025 there'll be 18 banners hanging in stores, you'd be like, you're out of your mind. What are you smoking? You know. And one last thing for me is we got, son, thank you so much for the time calling from lovely Ames, Iowa. I got there's one more UConn women question for me. I'm gonna let you off on this. We'll get you out on this one. Do the UConn, that's probably an easy answer here. Do the UConn women run the table in the Big East and go undefeated? I know it's too early to tell, but I mean.
Yeah. I mean, 18-0 last year, I don't see, barring any injuries, and even if they were to have one of their star players injured, they're so deep. I mean, it really is just, it's UConn and everybody else on the women's side. It's kind of crazy. If you guys remember watching, you know, the non-big games, you know, when UConn plays Tennessee and Notre Dame and all those tend to be entertaining watches. But those games on SNY when they were playing Big East opponents, Georgetown.
Or don't forget about CPTV. They were on Connecticut Public Television, remember?
Yeah, that was decades ago. You know, I used to do graphics for those games. It was a long time ago. I think Diana Taurasi was playing back then. Yeah, so, no, you're right, son. They're going to run the table in the Big East. It's no doubt. And they'll probably win every game. I would imagine they'll be favorites by 20 points. I mean, again, do they have an off night where maybe they win by 10 or 12? Possibly, but they're going to run the table. They're going to go to Mohegan Sun Arena. They're going to rip through the Big East tournament, cut down another net, and they'll be a 1 seed. And they'll probably be a 1 seed in the East. And I'm telling you, you know, at the top of the women's game nowadays, there is more competition, as we've seen. Over the last 10 years. It took Gino a long time to get banner number 12. So when he gets to the tournament, I think that's where you'll see some more competitive games and you'll see this UConn team be pushed. But the good news at that point is, you know, they'll be 3 months into the season. So the freshmen really won't be freshmen. And Sarah Strong will have another season under her belt. So I look for UConn to make another deep run into March. I think you can pencil them into the Final Four. And then at that point, it just takes, you know, a little bit of luck, a little bit of good fortune. But look for UConn to be right there at the end again.
So a lot of 82-30 games. All right, son, before we let you go here, give us a World Series prediction because we're about to go into the World Series next. So real quick World Series prediction, and then I got to let you know before I just thought of this, Jan is a huge Ravens fan, and Andy does a lot of the Ravens production too. So, all right, give us a World Series prediction.
I can't even talk about my Ravens this year, my God. Yeah, we'll move on from that. Another topic for another day on that. World Series here. Well, I'll tell you my three bets, Indians, Tigers, Brewers, all went by the wayside, so that didn't work out well. I'll just say this, son, you and I, listen, you're a Red Sox fan, I'm an Orioles fan, but in the end, I'm an American League East fan. Mm-hmm. I like that division. We grew up with that division, and I got to be honest, this is a weird thing, but I always loved the Blue Jays logos and their colors and the hats. If I wasn't wearing an Orioles thing, I wanted to wear a Blue Jays hat when I was a kid. So, long story short, we all remember Joe Carter.
Touch them all, Joe.
30 years ago now?
Touch them all, Joe. Yeah.
Touch them all, Joe, right? So, an amazing time, but it's been a super long time for any championships in Canada. When you talk NBA, NHL, MLB, it's been a long, long time for a title in Canada. I just watched the documentary on Netflix, Who Killed the Montreal Expos. God.
All right, son, I mean to cut you off. Give us a prediction.
Yeah, prediction. I'm going to go Toronto in 7. Toronto wins.
Ooh, all right, Jays in 7. Son, thank you so much. Enjoy Iowa State BYU. I know we'll be talking to you in weeks to come.
You got it. Take care, guys. Good luck with the show.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
There he goes, the cuz Andy Bock from lovely Ames, Iowa. All right, we have 2 minutes to go, so real quick, your quick pick in the NFL was again... Oh, Ravens. Ravens over the Bears.
Yeah, Ravens. Lamar's back, almost certainly back. If he's back, they're going to go on a little run here.
All right, and I took the Broncos minus 2.5. Another mile-high meltdown for an NFC East opponent.
I like that pick.
Broncos over Dallas, 28-13. Dallas just came off a win. They're all excited. They're going to walk into a tough Denver. Best defense in the NFL, I think, right now. Denver.
I think it's the Browns, honestly, but they just
Broncos and Browns. Yeah, Patriots got the Browns.
Have no offense, so it's so hard. Yeah, but
Drake May has a big test. You're right. That Browns defense. That'll be a fun game this weekend.
They can't score though.
Pats and Browns. All right, real quick, the George Springer. Can we go to George Springer, Matt?
The 1-0 pitch. High fly ball. Left field. Arozarena watches it go.
Box.
Exactly the part of the lineup you want out in a situation like this. And a swing and a fly ball to left field. Back goes Arozarena. She's gone!
And there you have Dan Schulman from Blue Jays TV. I like both calls.
Good calls.
I think Schulman kind of stole Vin Scully. She's gone, but still a great call. All right, World Series prediction. I'm sorry, we're kind of...
So Cuz knows a lot more about UConn hoop than I do, but he does not know more about baseball. The Jays are just overmatched.
Ooh.
They better win tonight, or I think they're getting swept. I think tonight's the night they could win. They got their ace on the mound. Every Dodger pitcher is an ace, but the Dodger layoff might hurt them tonight. But I'm going to say 5 games.
Okay. You're saying Dodgers in 5?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go. Oh, man, I think you're absolutely right. I'll go. I'm going to say, Brady, Blue Jays in 6.
Really?
You got your Blue Jays colors on.
Really?
I'm going to go. I'm going Blue Jays in 6. I think Toronto's going to surprise some people and turn some heads. It's probably a long shot, but George Springer, the Connecticut connection, pulling for the Connecticut.
I'm rooting for the Jays. Yeah, I'm rooting for the Jays. Every Dodger starter can throw 10 Ks. It's
unbelievable.
It's filthy, and their lineup is filthy. I don't say. It's almost like they coasted through the season for this moment.
Chan, first one in the books.
It was great.
Friday Sports Team with Keith and Koivisto, brought to you by our local Dunkin' stores.
Great call-ins, too.
Thank you to Coach Prose and Andy Bock, and we'll see you next week, buddy.
Yes.
All right, Homegrown with J. Matt Rupar is next. Big thanks to J. Matt Rupar, 14 WILI Willimantic and 95.3 FM.